Hello everyone, it's Yort1781987. We are back with more Umineko When They Cry. So far it's been interesting. They've definitely have set up a good premise for the story, and I'm getting curious about it. So, let's go ahead and get started. Let's begin. It's gonna take a while before we get all this stuff. So let's just go through episode 1 first. Oh, shoot. Guys, I messed up. I gotta load. I gotta load. I gotta load. That's not the right thing to do. Oh, brother. Okay, hold on. Gosh, okay. See that I clicked the wrong button and this thing happens. Okay, hold on. Oh, yo, I could have done doing the new and the old images the whole time. Yo. I didn't know. Okay, anyway. Load. Alright, we're still in episode 1. Sorry about that. I think for this playthrough, the rest of it, I know we started out with the updated sprites, but I've always had a personal... I've always liked the old school sprites. Tell me if you don't like these, and I'll just change it. I don't know. But I want to try it with the old school sprites, like the 90s sprite. These are 2000s, the 2005 sprites. I don't know what you call them. But I always kind of like these out there and kind of charm. Hey, Maria-chan, look over here. These roses are especially magnificent. Magnificent roses. Wow, she looks completely different. Anyway. Ooh. It smells pretty sweet. Look, this suits my elegance perfectly. Hey, cut it out. Okay, honestly, no, I gotta switch back. It's just too different. It's, no, I don't like it. Part of me just doesn't like it. And here's why. Let me explain. I started it off with the new sprites, and now going back to the old sprites, I don't even know what they are, who they are now. They look so different. Anyway, so let's change it to I have to do system. Oh, are you kidding me? Do I really have to? Hold on, I'm gonna have to edit this part out because it's not letting me. Oh no, it's right here. I'm stupid. Okay, yeah, that's just, I like this more. Okay, hey, cut it out. Maria's gonna imitate you and get hurt by the thorns. She yelled at me as she leaned in to smell the roses with an exaggerated gesture. I thought she was overreacting, but when I turned around, I saw Maria imitating my every gesture and Georgia Niki smiling broadly at us. Sorry. Hey now, Maria-chan, be careful. Rose thorns can hurt. Ooh. Georgia Niki-chan. Only this rose is strange. Ooh. Strange? What's wrong? Maria pointed at a single rose. I immediately understood why she found it odd. In the midst of all these magnificent roses, one single rose was starting to wilt. There wasn't any particular reason. Some roses flourish, and others wilt. That's all there was to it. But Maria seemed very concerned about the only unhealthy one in the group. That's the mind of a child. It must have made her feel lonely. So, you feel sad for this rose because it's the only one that isn't healthy? The others are all healthy, but this one's sad. Well, they all bloom and wither at their own paces. I bet this one's just starting to wilt early because it got to bloom before any of the others. Yeah, that's right. It probably just bloomed like crazy, fulfilled its duty, and went to sleep. This guy talks so brashly. Anyway, you shouldn't get so worked up about it. It seemed that Maria's pure, sensitive nature was making her feel some emotional pain for the rose that wilted alone. Even though she understood the logic of it, it still felt lonely to her. Then, Maria-chan, why don't you look after this rose until we leave? Ooh? George Aniki straightened up and felt around in his pocket. He then took out the wrapper from the candy he had been sucking on in the plane. He twisted it into a thin string, then gently tied it to the rose as a sort of marker. Hey, that's pretty cute! Let's mark it with this. Later on, you can come and give it some water. I'm sure Mr. Rose will be happy. Ooh! Come to give it water! I think you should give Mr. Rose here a name. Right, give it some kind of name. I'm sure that'll make it happy and you'll get to know it a little better. A name? A name? Ooh. Though she still wore her usual sullen face, Maria crossed her arms and began to consider this intently. At the very least, she appeared to have been completely pulled out of her slump. Nice going, Aniki. George Nissan has always been really understanding. Can't help but respect him. Yeah, I guess he was just born that way. We've got to start picking up tips. Was this garden just as magnificent when you all were kids? It was only after I stopped living here that it grew so big. Before that, the garden was simpler, though I'm still attached to that one. Nissan fiddled with it too much, with that vaguely bad taste of his. I liked it much better before. Eva, you gotta think positive. Setting aside how it used to look, its beauty now is something to be admired. You'll be able to relax a lot better if you look at it that way. I didn't mean it like that. I was just saying that I wanted you to see this garden the way it was before, too. Everyone, if you please, I shall guide you to your rooms now. Goto-san called to everyone to ask if they were ready, but our hearts had been completely stolen away by the rose garden that none of us had seen for a year, and so we didn't pay much attention to him. Since we weren't a travel group, it wasn't like we had a strict schedule to follow. Well, that's true. Besides, since our parents were visiting their old home full of nostalgia, it wasn't like they had to let themselves be urged on by anyone or anything. Understanding the situation, Goto-san continued to wait, smiling widely until our parents got tired of the roses and told him to guide us to our rooms. All right. Oh? Hey! If it isn't Kenon-kun. It's been so long. How are you doing? Uncle Hideyoshi suddenly shouted. In the direction he was waving was a slender boy. Meeting him right after a huge man like Goto probably emphasized his small stature. The boy was in the middle of transporting piled-up gardening tools and the like in a wheelbarrow. When he realized that he was being called to stop, he set down the wheelbarrow, took off his hat, and bowed his head. Good afternoon. I figured he was probably younger than me. And I realized by the general atmosphere surrounding him that he was another servant. Yes, he certainly appears to be one. He greeted us in response to Uncle Hideyoshi's call, but he seemed like he might be pretty unsociable most of the time. It was a greeting that lacked feeling. When Goda-san noticed that our interest had shifted towards him, he went to the boy's side and introduced him to us. Battler Saba, allow me to introduce you. This is one of the servants of the Yushirimiya head household. Kanon-san, greet our guest. I'm pleased to meet you. I am the servant, Kanon. Wow, he seems very... I don't know. The vibes he's giving me are very straightforward and serious. I don't know. Yep, my first impression wasn't wrong. He seemed to be unsociable, or at least not so good at talking. Compared to Goda-san, who was extraordinarily polished as a servant, you couldn't help but feel an inexperience typical of his age. Goda-san urged him in a whisper to give a bit more of an introduction. The boy named Kanon only cast his eyes downwards. Kanon-san, could you perhaps give them a little more of a greeting? No. Because we are furniture. He didn't seem to be refusing to greet us out of spite. Rather, he seemed to have fallen silent because he didn't know what else to say to us in greeting. Okay. Well, Kanon-kun's shy and doesn't tend to talk much. He might not be that sociable, but deep down, he's really a good person. Don't get him wrong. You've been working here for 3 years, haven't you? Pretty sure you started a year before Goda-san, right? Even though he wasn't exactly giving a terrible first impression, Jessica hurriedly backed him up. Well, that's nice of her. I see, so apparently his unsociable nature causes him trouble a lot. Okay then, nice to meet you. I'm Badler. I'm 18. How old are you? He doesn't say anything. He fell silent, as though wondering whether or not it was a question he'd have to answer. But, here again, Jessica plowed ahead. If I remember correctly, Kanon's 2 years younger than us, so 16, right? Yes, that is correct. It looked like he would have preferred not to tell us his age if given the choice. Okay, well, some people have reasons for that. That was probably because he thought we'd look down on him for it. Yeah, that's about what I thought. I remember that when I was around his age, I hated being asked how old I was by adults. Well, fair enough. I see, 16, huh? That's gotta be a delicate time. Which means I probably asked something I shouldn't have. I'm glad you're about our age. Just be cool and call me Badler. And I'll call you Kanon. Thank you very much. But the sentiment alone is sufficient. Badler-sama. Jessica looked panicky for some reason. She seemed to think my impression of Kanon was getting worse because of his refusal. Well, as a girl, Jessica probably couldn't understand the fretful male heart at this age. No, there's no way she can understand it. As his elder, even by just 2 years, I took it upon myself to be understanding of that. Kanon-san, could you perhaps be a little more courteous? A smiling face is also part of a servant's duty. My apologies. I shall make an effort. Ho 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 ho. Goda-san, Kanon-kun is trying his best, yes? It looks like he was often warned about being unsociable. and apparently he hadn't improved in one bit. Well, that's how it goes sometimes. Goto-san kept his business smile, but let out a small sigh of resignation escape. Well then, I still have work to do. If you'll excuse me. It looked like Kanon himself was uncomfortable with remaining silent here any longer. After another perfunctory bow, he turned around and started pushing the wheelbarrow again. Just then, the wheelbarrow suddenly swabbled and fell, scattering the load. I guess the wheelbarrow's single wheel got caught on a pebble and lost its balance. What do you think you're doing? Now, clean it up quickly. Goto-san urged him to hurry in a quiet voice, as though hinting it was shameful for a servant to appear clumsy in front of guests. Kanon-kun wordlessly reloaded the wheelbarrow with the fallen objects, as if to say he quite understood well without being told. He seemed to be fine with the light-looking gardening tools, shovels, and such, but he looked like he was having trouble getting his arms around and lifting up some sacks of fertilizer. Right, those sacks can be really heavy. They're like, what, 40, 50 pounds? Are you okay? You're so careless. Here. My lady, you will dirty your garments. Please, leave this to us. With a smooth motion, Goto-san took the shovel that Jessica had picked up. I'm getting the impression Jessica is one of those people that's too nice. Behind him, Kanon-kun was having trouble with the sacks of fertilizer. You'll dirty your garments? Don't worry, the ones I'm wearing aren't that expensive. Besides, I hate guys who just sit there and make the waitress pick up the fork they dropped at the restaurant. I lifted up the other bags that had fallen. Of course, they weren't light, but for me it was a piece of cake. Kanon-kun looked at me, surprised. It was the face of someone who never would have expected to receive help from a guest. Battler-sama, don't worry about it. I will take care of everything, so don't you worry. I may not look it, but I've got it where it counts. Heh. Since Kanon-kun looked like he hadn't yet gone through his ghost spurt, he was stuck with a sort of weak body. Man, that was quite an observation. This kind of weight must have been too much for him. I guess that's fair. It's quite heavy. It's natural that it would be difficult for you. Don't worry about it, Kanon-kun. Aw, that's nice of him. He's so considerate. Okay, my time to shine. This makes up for the boat stuff from before, right? Ha! As if this could make up for freaking out like that. Ha ha ha! Later, I'll tell you all about it, Kanon-kun. Oh my gosh, she's gonna blurb everything. Battler was totally hilarious. Does he even care? Gonna fall! Ooh! What a weird group of characters. Anyway, as they did this, I piled all the stuff back into the wheelbarrow. I beg your forgiveness for letting you witness such unsightliness. At least he seems to be pretty intelligent. Come on now, that's quite enough. Please, go. Letting the guests who were supposed to feel welcome see such a disgraceful thing must have been hideously embarrassing for a servant. Pressed by Goto to hurry up and go, Kanon-kun left. You're too harsh on him, Goto-san. Shouldn't you have helped him instead of being a bully? Okay. That was wrong of me. I deeply implore your forgiveness. Without even a twitch in his smile, Goto-san apologized elegantly. Kanon-kun has a ton of things he'd be good at too. It's just that being young works against him all the time. It's a crying shame. Well, it's a prickly age. Let's just leave him be. After all, closed-mouthed servants are the best kind. Someone could say it. Isn't that right, Kumasawa-san? Ha ha! Rudolph-sama, you truly are harsh. There is no servant as silent as me, of course. Everyone smiled wryly at that obvious lie. Even she herself didn't believe that, not in her wildest dreams. So, she must have said it to lighten the mood. Yeah, that's the kind of character Kumasawa-Ba-chan used to be. The once stiff atmosphere had cleared up at once, thanks to her cheerful smile. I'd like to set our luggage down soon. Goto-san, what rooms are we all going to take? It shall be the same as the previous year. Allow me to guide you. Please, this way. We headed toward a trim, elegantly simple guest house. This was going to be our temporary quarters for the night. What's he doing here? Kanon watched over a hedge as the guests all entered the guest house. Then, he let his eyes fall on the heavy sacks of fertilizer piled up in the wheelbarrow. In his mind, he kept going over his previous mistake. Badler, big and strong, had picked up the sacks in front of him. The sacks Kanon couldn't lift himself, as if they were feathers. It would be extremely difficult for an outside observer to guess what emotions that favor had stirred up in Kanon. But as far as you could tell by watching him hang his head, there was something that he just couldn't let go of. Muttered words escaped his lips, but those words were murmured so soft that they didn't even reach his own ears. Even I. Kanon hung his head, slightly biting his lower lip. Even I, is what he said. I wonder what he meant by that. But there's not enough information to go off of. Seems like a nice place. I remember the Rose Garden, but I don't remember this guest house at all. Was it built recently? Torion, Visitor's Retreat, was written on a gatepost-like thing, but since everyone called it the guest house, I followed their lead. The brand new Western-style guest house, which stood overlooking the roses, had a magnificent design, carefully done in harmony with the garden. Correct. It was built the year before last. Ever since then, they had had a sleepover here. Hehehe, this place is more fun than that junky old mansion you knew. I wish my room was over here. I want a room here too. I want one. I guess you could say my own house was upper class, but to me, it felt completely ordinary compared to the Head family. The display of wealth was shocking, as was the fact that they built this kind of awesome guest house for guests who came only a few times a year. Ivo-sama, Hideyoshi-sama, please do make use of this room. Rudolph-sama, Kiri-sama, please take this room here. I really do love how beautiful and elegant this place is. Western-style architecture truly is wonderful. I can handle Western design for a few days, but any longer than that, and you need the good old Japanese look. Japanese people just relax best on tatami mats. Haha. They've been fighting over whether to make our new house Japanese style or Western style. Mom still holds a grudge over about Dad having the construction started with a Japanese layout, and they bicker all the time about it. I'm really jealous, George Nissan. Your parents get along well, don't they? Mine are so frosty. Then again, they're always in sync when it comes to my grades. All the rooms seemed to be for 2 people. I was grateful, since I was gonna be forced to share the same room with the old bastard under the pretext that we were family. And anyway, I figured those two wouldn't be able to enjoy themselves with someone like me around. Hee hee. What's with that creepy smile? You're thinking about something dirty, aren't you? Hee 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 hee. Something dirty? Of course not. Man, this guy is really mischievous. Please enjoy your stay. Ow! Ow, 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 ow! That hurts, you old bastard. Once again, Dad pulls my ears from behind. Cut the crap. I'm getting a stomachache, and I'm not in the mood for this. You're the guest of honor this time around, so play as nice as possible with Dad and Aniki and the rest. At the very least, be careful of what you say in front of Dad, got it? Because wisecracks don't go too well with him. Jessica-chan, Jessica-chan, what's the head mood been like lately? Same as last year, I guess. Considering that they say he's got 3 lumps left to live, he's as lively, grumpy, and irritable as ever. Meaning this year he's in his usual bad mood. And as usual, the only one who's able to look after him is Genji-san? It seems the master will open his heart to no one else. Lately, us small people have not even been granted an audience with him. He shut up himself in his study again, probably doing nothing but that weird black magic of his. What he does for a hobby and his own damn business, but when he starts stinking up the house, it really gets on my nerves. I wish he'd never come out of that study again. You shouldn't talk about the elderly. We're all indebted to him since he rebuilt the Ushirimiya family. We should be more grateful. Well, sorry. After being rebuked by George and Nikki, Jessica had no choice but to take back her thoughtless remark. The Ushirimiya family was wealthy beyond belief, but of course that means all its members were a bit strange and completely out of touch with the world at large. And at the top of the chain, the family head, our grandfather, seemed especially strange and terrifying even for our family. Dad said he was getting a stomachache earlier, and I imagine that reflected the honest feelings of the adults here today. No doubt they were jealous of us grandchildren who could just play around and laugh without a care. From the stories Dad had told me, the family head was a violent man who ruled with his fists, beating his children, even his daughters, mercilessly with a wooden sword. If he was so strict and uptight about that, why couldn't he have been a little more conservative with his kids' names? Because of that, even us grandkids have had to suffer. Anyway, I can't say I've had any trouble believing those terrifying stories about him. I don't remember meeting him very often, but I think I recall him looking extremely grumpy all the time, always making people cower with that sharp gaze of his. I remember that the room's atmosphere got so tense whenever he was around you couldn't even breathe. What my dad said about me being the guest of honor now carries a little more oomph for me. 6 years ago, I was in elementary school, but I'm a high schooler now. If I act up, things could get serious. Ooh, scary. He does look frightening, but he's not so terrifying that you need to tense up like that. Nothing of what he says is truly unreasonable. He may be clumsy at talking, but he's a very logical person. The George-san, you've been the family darling since like forever because of your awesome grades, right? Grandfather treats us completely different. I've gotten slapped with a wooden sword. I've even gotten slapped with a wooden sword. On my ass. My ass. On my maidenly, innocent ass. Well, you're the heiress of the head family, Jessica-chan. Grandfather is giving you special attention. Man, that's kind of dark. You've got to realize that his strictness reflects his high hopes for you. Oh, come on. Seriously, I could just turn the succession over to you, George Nissan. It's a bit of a heavy burden for me to carry. I think I already said it before, but Jessica's the girl heir to the head family. We are only cousins and branch families, so she probably feels a totally different sort of pressure than we do. Fair. Ooh, Jessica Oni-chan, is that heavy? If I help hold it, will it get lighter? Ah, thanks. It's okay, I'm not gonna push it on you, Maria. I'm gonna bear this cross until my grave. Don't worry. She was grateful for Maria's innocent concern, but Jessica's face still seemed to contain some of the uneasiness she felt towards the future. Maybe we're in the same boat. Any high schooler with exams approaching would have trouble hiding their anxiety for the future. Well, that's true. Maria, come here. You and I will be in this room. Battler-kun, I heard you're going to be with me in this room here. Oh? Now there's a surprise. It's bigger than our parents' rooms. Dang. Well, I figured we cousins would all want to hang out together, so I told them to get a bigger room ready. Ooh. I like it more here, too. I'd rather be here than with Mama. Sorry, that just came out funny. She probably won't be allowed to be with them, right? Because they're way older. Ooh, ooh. Oh, you like it better here too, Maria? Okay, this room is George's and mine, but we'll give you special permission to come in. Better keep it a secret from your mom, okay? There's no way that's gonna fly. Ooh, it's a secret! Aunt Rosa was right behind us. But Maria still answered, striking the air with her fists clenched tight. That's funny. After setting down their luggage in our rooms, our parents had gathered again in the corridor. Hey, what are you brats planning to do? Are you cousins just gonna stay here and chat? It seemed they were heading to the mansion to announce their arrival. Normally they would make us follow them and greet everyone together, but if that had been the case, Dad would have just told us to come and that'd be the end of it. He's saying it's okay if we don't come, so what will he do? Well, it's gonna be lunchtime before long anyway. Better let the kids unwind here. Besides, if worst comes to worst, this might be their last chance to play outdoors. Ooh! I'll go too! Maria, you house sit for Mama, okay? Behave yourself and wait here. Ooh. Since Maria was being told to house sit here, we certainly couldn't leave her on her own. Well, right, she's just a young girl. George Niki noticed this immediately, and gave a clear reply for all of his cousins. Well then, we'll accept your offer and house sit. We've got lots of stories to tell each other after being away for a year. That sounds wonderful. And Battler-kun has 6 years worth of stories to tell, doesn't he? Yeah. I'll take care of the house like a good boy. Kumasawa-san, I'm gonna stay here too. We'll break rank and leave the rest to the adults. Hehehe. Perhaps that would be best. Ho, ho, ho. I'll report it to Madame. Then allow me to guide you all to the mansion. This way, please. The other children are one thing, but George is getting to be an adult. Wouldn't it be better if he came with us? If we make him come, then poor George will be the only one out of place. Interacting with his cousins is also important. Well, okay, see you all later. The adults left one after the other. They left in the same formation as our trip from the harbor, with Goto-san leading and Kumasawa-san taking up the rear. As we gathered in the room assigned to us cousins, George Niki asked us to excuse him for a second. He rushed over to Kumasawa-san, who was following behind the disappearing adults, and seemed to ask her something. He soon finished his business and came back. What's up, Aniki? Oh, nothing. I just wanted to ask her something. Ooh, tell me too. Tell me too. What could George Nissan be asking Kumasawa-san and not me, I wonder? I don't have a clue. No, it's a misunderstanding. Not that I know what you're misunderstanding. Nikki was getting pretty tongue-tied. It was almost as though he felt guilty about something, and Jessica knew exactly what he was worried about. At any rate, it's no fun if Jessica gets to know about it and not me. Hey, Maria, it looks like we're the only two out of the loop, right? Don't you want to know what they're talking about? Ooh, we want to know too! We want to know too! Ooh, 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 ooh. I fooled around while oohing together with Maria. No, I'm telling you, it's no big deal. Liar. I'm surprised you tell such a terrible lie, Aniki. Confess. Maria, you tickle his right side. I'll tickle his left. Ooh! I've got his right side, Balor's got his left. Ooh! Wait a second. Wait, you two? Stop! Ah! Maria and I played around, chasing George and Iki as he tried to escape, rolling on the bed. I realize high schoolers aren't supposed to bounce around like kittens, but I still kind of miss this kind of fun. A warm, cozy kind of fun. George Nissan, what were you asking Kubasawa-san? Well, I've got a good guess. It's been a year since the last time you visited the head family. Who knows what servants might come and gone during that time. Either way, it looks like you'd like to go and say hi. Say hi? I want to say hi too. What the hell? There's nothing to feel guilty about, Aniki. I'm not buying it. Maria, don't be fooled. Aniki's still hiding something. More torture. Urgh. Stop it, seriously. Maria-chan, you two stop already. She's probably busy cleaning or getting lunch ready. Don't worry, she'll drop by to say hi sooner or later. Hey, you better have been... I'll bet you'd rather have been welcomed in by Shannon rather than that nosy Goda. Shannon. Yeah, I remember a girl with that name. Is she still a servant? How's she doing? What happened? Guess this is a flashback. Maybe. Oh no, that maybe we're going to see what's happening with the adults. Yeah, that's what's happening. By the way, Natsuhi-ni-san, how's your headache been lately? It seemed pretty serious before. I have been much better lately. Thank you for your concern. Oh, right. Here. A present for you, Natsuhi-ni-san. Thank you very much. I'm always receiving gifts from you. Is this black tea? It's herb tea with peppermint and lemon balm. It's a blend from a well-known store, and it's supposed to be good for headaches. I thought it might help you, too. Rosa was always a conscientious woman. Probably because she was the youngest of four, and much younger than the other three, she managed to grow up without gaining the venomous nature of her siblings. Her kind words got Natsuhi to soften her expression for just a moment. But it wasn't enough to melt her stony gaze, hardened as it was from the long years of mental stress. Come to think of it, you're always complaining about those headaches. Pull yourself together. Jessica-chan has her exams this year, right? That's gonna be a turning point in her life. Will she really be able to rely on you as a mother if you're like that? Besides, Nasuhi Nisan, you're 3 years younger than me. You really should get your act together. I apologize. I've had a tendency for headaches all my life. Even under normal circumstances, Eva sometimes failed to choose her words carefully. I gotta say, Nasuhi though? Dang! Anyway, sorry. But her comments aimed toward Nasuhi contained shards of obvious malice, though she hid it with a smile. Of course, that fact didn't escape Nasuhi. She frantically contained her urge to grimace and pretended to ignore Eva. Our Battler-kun will have his exams this year too. Rudolph-san, shouldn't you be a little concerned as well? For the sake of your own son, you'd better get serious to the point of having headaches like Natsuhi Nisan. If I say anything, he automatically rebels. So what should I say? Should I say the opposite, that it's okay for him to mess around? That's probably the only way I can get him to listen to me. Hideyoshi Nisan, George did really well on his exams, right? Please, you gotta teach me the trick to handling children. Well, it's probably because I got him to understand why he should study. Studying isn't worth anything on its own. That's right. The real point of studying is to practice research and stuff on your own whenever you bump into something you don't know. If you can't do that, you can't be useful to society. I'm not talking about math or writing. You gotta learn how to learn. That's splendid. I wish our Jessica could understand that as well. If she is to be the heiress of the Yoshirimiya family, then at this rate, do you really have to force her into becoming the successor? After all, a woman has to find a woman's happiness. Parents shouldn't force such things on their children, don't you think? Hold your horses, Eva. Each family has its own way of raising their kids. You shouldn't be so pushy. I'm sorry, Natsuhi Nisan. Don't take it the wrong way. I don't think she took it the right way. Though the light shining in through the window was quite warm despite the cloudy weather, there was a dark mood around the room, which was probably causing headaches for more than just Natsuhi. As if to sweep away that mood, Kiri brightly made a suggestion to all present. Still, this black tea really has a lovely aroma. Let's drink it right away. In Japan, surely you couldn't find something like Leopold's black tea anywhere but Ginza, right? Hold on, I need to take a drink. I needed that. Okay. I see you know a lot about it, Kiri-ni-san. I guess it was worth going through the trouble of buying it. Kiri and Rosa stood up from their seats and made as if to prepare the black tea, but Natsuhi forestalled them. I thank you both, but we can try that later. One of our people will soon be coming to bring some tea, so please relax. Leave it for later, you two. Let's enjoy our welcome drink. Well, I guess that's the courteous thing to do, right? Rudolph gave a subtle signal with his eyes for them to sit down again. Kiri and Rosa understood instantly and obediently returned to their seats. The initial greeting of the guests was complete, so it was time for them to be served some tea, right? It was embarrassing for the host that the tea was late, especially now that the guests were talking about making tea themselves. Natsuhi bit right, so I missed that part. Natsuhi is the hostess because she lives in this area. Natsuhi bit her lower lip, frustrated by the ineptitude of the servants who were late bringing in the tea. Seeing her face, Eva immediately started to giggle. Man, Eva is really devious, isn't she? Of course, Shannon had no way of knowing what was taking place in the parlor. She came pushing a serving cart piled with teacups. For no apparent reason, Natsuki gave her a pained look, and Shannon couldn't help but flinch without knowing what she had done wrong. Excuse me, your tea is ready. Oh, Shannon-chan, it's been a while. You keep getting prettier every time I see you. Thanks. Save the chatting for after you set the table. The tea will get cold. I apologize, madame. She apologized like a small frightened animal, bumped against the serving cart, and made a jarring racket as she dropped several teaspoons. Her clumsiness made Natsuki's expression turn even darker, which made Shannon quail even more. Come on, Natsuki-Nisan. There's nothing wrong with her exchanging a few words in greeting. The tea must be plenty cold already, considering how long we've been kept waiting. There's no need to worry. It's not cold yet. Shannon, finish setting the table quickly. I'm sorry, madame. Natsuki's irritation was obvious by now. The ineptitude that delayed the tea, the clumsiness of the servant, everything pointed to the incompetence of Natsuki's everyday leadership, making her lose face. As the person in charge of the Mushirimiya head family's kitchen, allowing that clumsiness to be exposed, truly of all days, today of all days, was nothing less than total humiliation. Lay off, Natsuki-Nisan. Don't you think it's a little harsh to bully Shannon-chan when she's trying her best? Wow, that's probably the most positive I've heard that guy this whole time. I'm not bullying anyone. What a nice aroma. May I ask what brand this is? I'm terribly sorry. I'll find out for you later. Giri was trying to be nice, hoping to cut through the tense mood. However, Shannon had embarrassed herself instead, darkening Natsu's face and the rune's mood. By this point, Eva was audibly giggling. What's this? Shannon-chan, don't you even know what you're pouring us? Come now, you mustn't serve something so suspicious to guests. We'll need a silver spoon at the very least before we can drink this. I'm terribly sorry. I'll go get one immediately. Shannon-chan, do you know what silver spoons are used for? They have to be silver. Do you know why? No, at this point, I'm really feeling bad for Shannon, honestly. A teasing smile rose to Eva's face as she stared at Shannon setting the table. By itself, Eva's expression was sweet as in an impish sort of way. However, the words being spun from her lips held the keenness of a razor within them. Shannon tried with all her might to avoid Eva's continuing gaze. Realizing that Shannon was hard-pressed for an answer, Rosa gave some timely help. They say that if silver is touched by poison, it darkens. Guess you learned something today, Shannon-chan. They were acting as if though this tea needed to be tested for poison before it could be drunk. That's what I thought that they were insinuating, that they were gonna be poisoned. In Natsuki's eyes, this was an insult, both to the tea and to herself for serving it. Rudolph laughed flippantly and patted Eva's shoulder. Silver cutlery wouldn't do any good for you, Aniki. Just one lick of your poisonous tongue, and even the silver plate would turn pitch black. Wahahaha! Since I get to hear that poison tongue every day, I must be poison-proof myself by now. Eva, I don't mind when you use it on me, but you'd better hold back when talking to people who haven't built up a resistance. Wahahaha. Oh my, how cruel. All I did was teach Shannon-chan a bit about tea, didn't I? Everyone followed the lead set by Hideyoshi's horse laugh and chuckled, though not easily. Only Nasuhi didn't join in, but for the time being, the conversation inside the parlor could now be mistaken for a lively and friendly chat. As Shannon finally finished setting the tea table and tried to leave, Kiri apologized to her in a low voice for not being able to help. Shannon gave a light bow and made a hasty retreat. Shannon cast her eyes downwards as she pushed the cart down the corridor. Anyone seeing the pitiful way she looked might easily conclude that she had been bullied in some way. Don't be sad. You didn't do anything wrong, Nissan. You were watching? That is my role. Madame and Eva-sama can go to hell. But the worst coward is that guy. Cannon glared hatefully in the opposite direction of the parlor. The preparations for the tea had been delayed by some trifling problems in the kitchen. These problems were not Shannon's fault. In fact, it had been Goda's mistake. After all, there was no way a show-off like Goda would have given up a flashy job like bringing in tea when the guests arrived. He had ended up wasting time preparing the tea once again. So, when he realized he wouldn't be able to score any points for his job, he pushed the task of setting the table on Shannon, who happened to be passing by. You might call it a clever move on his part, but there could be no doubt that it was a cowardly one. It's okay, Kannon-kun. Thanks. I'm not bothered by it at all. Cannon's silence vividly expressed the distance between Shannon's words and how she actually felt. Thank you. Even if you're the only one who understands, I feel a little bitter. You keep your feelings too bottled up, Nissan. You should be less hard on yourself for once. Yeah, thanks. Suddenly, they both felt someone's presence and whirled around. A middle-aged man stood there. It was Genji, the head servant. What are you two doing there? Shannon, hurry back to the kitchen. Yes, if you'll excuse me. Shannon humbly obeyed and promptly made to push the cart and leave. However, Kannon appealed to Genji in silence, bearing something in his eyes that he could not express in words. What is it? Did something happen? Shannon didn't do anything wrong. But even so, they... Stop it, Kannon-kun. Please, excuse me. I'll return to work immediately. Kannon-kun, you should go back to your post too. Please. If you say so, Nissan. If that is all, then go. Yes. If you'll excuse me. From the shadows in the hallway, an old woman wearing an apron watched over them. It was Kumasawa. Poor Shannon-san, Kannon-san. There's no reason for those two to be picked on. Still, Goda-san's dislike for them is an undeniable fact. Until Goda-san was taken by the Yoshiramiya head family, I hear he worked for a fabulous hotel somewhere. The manner of work he learned there was quite impressive, I just that Goto-san is the newest servant here. He must have had a lot of pride accumulated from his previous positions. Well, that makes sense. Because Shannon-san and Kanon-kun are his seniors here at the mansion, and yet are inexperienced and have gone through much less in life than he has, he picks on them at every chance he gets. And also, sad as it may be, they are disliked by Madame Masuhi too. Ah, that does sound rough. Of course, if we're talking about experience, then Madame has been in this family much longer. And yet, this is one point where I cannot help but sympathize with the Madame as well. Truly, the master is a man with many sins on his conscience. Why didn't he realize that such a trifling whim of his would give the Madame such an inferiority complex? Of course, on the inside, even the Madame is fully aware that those two don't deserve to be treated so harshly. However, the heart has reasons that reason knows not. Ah, I feel so sorry for them. If I'm reading this like as Kuwasama-san's kind of inner monologue, right? I could read it in her voice, but it's just way easier just to read it this way. I can't do anything but watch over them from the shadows. So she can't do anything about it. Understood. Oh, okay, so we're like changing cutscene now. And some time passes. I guess it's midnight, if that's what's happening. Or maybe that's just an animation. Maybe I'm just speculating for nothing. Let's see what happens next. The four of us... Okay, so we're back with the kiddos. The four of us cousins were enjoying our stories, just shooting the breeze. Anyway, there were both girls and guys here. Plus, we had people over a wide spread of ages, adult, high school, and elementary school. Even if we just talked about our own lives, the other three kept listening attentively. I think I'm finally getting used to all this. Jessica and Maria have grown more than I could have imagined in the past 6 years. To be honest, I was feeling a bit uncomfortable, but talking like this, I guess that on the inside, nothing's really changed since back then. I agree. You haven't changed a bit, even after 6 years. Even though your body's gotten gigantic, you're still a kid inside. Ooh, I'm a kid too! I'm a kid too! Well, even if you aren't gonna be a kid forever. Well, oh my gosh, sorry, I'm mixing up all these words. Well, even you aren't gonna be a kid forever, are you, Maria? I mean, you're gonna transform from a kid into a cute young lady, aren't you? And when that happens, that flat as a board chest will reach Jessica's level, huh? When that happens, you're gonna have to let me touch him, okay? It's a promise. Ooh. She doesn't understand anything he's saying. Let you touch him. Promise. Ooh. Oh my gosh. No, Maria-chan. You can't make that kind of promise. That's bad. Ooh? I promised, so I let him touch him. I keep my promises. Anyway, keep them. Ooh! Maria, you really are an earnest good girl. The guy you'll marry will get really lucky. Hey, stop trying to change the subject by making it sound pretty. Maria, that promise never happened. Never. Ooh, the promise is canceled? Ooh, that's a big word for an elementary schooler. Well, whatever. As I thought, without Battler-kun and our little quartet, this group of cousins just doesn't feel complete. These 6 years have been kind of lonely. That's true. We didn't really goof off like this. Still, we did have some pretty constructive conversations, right? Stuff about preparing for a future, exam taking, finding jobs. Oh, I'm so sorry. Now that I'm here, we just talk about stupid stuff and mess around. but I'm having more fun this year. Ooh, ooh. That's true. I agree. This year's the most fun yet. Alright, well, it's been... You wouldn't be able to know this unless you look at the counter, but it's been about an hour. This is a good point for me to stop as well. I'm really enjoying Umineko so far. I want to keep going with it. I know this is a long visual novel, so I'm trying to get some time in on it. Alright, so this is 0178197. I'm going to sign out for today. Look forward to more in the near future. Goodbye.